guy in the NBA should ever wear 23. I've been working on that shot my whole life, and for that one to go in, that was liberating right there, man.
And I'm not shoving it aside, like it don't mean anything. I know it's important. I do. I honestly do. But we talking about
23 Shots of JD podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to the 23 Shots of JD podcast. How should I really say this? I guess the 1 week review of the season so far. A lot of things happening, a lot of storylines, there's a lot of trends that are happening that, whilst it's only, I guess you could say, really young in the season, sort of materializing to something interesting that you can see that, like I said, things are sort of shaping out interestingly just at the start of the season that I think sort of doesn't necessarily happen in other seasons, I guess. And obviously you could probably pull up stats and be like, oh, this team's gone 4-0 or this team's gone 1-1 or whatever. But just my opinion, I think it's holistically, it's been really interesting to see a lot of different storylines emerge, and it's going to be a really interesting season. And I think, when I was doing the breakdown of 30 and 10, which plug if you haven't listened to yet, definitely check that out. It's just where I broke down 30 teams in 10 days before the NBA season. I had a pretty cool guest on in Craig from Razzball.com, which a lot of people seem to like, and just generally, I should say I want to thank all the people that listened to it. It got a pretty good reception. I'm really happy with how it turned out and stuff like that. So thanks for everyone that's listened to it. But yeah, sort of just moving on, I guess probably the most important storyline is, with the most notable team in the Western Conference, one of only two teams in the Western Conference, and so let me double check, one of only 4 teams that haven't won a game, and that is the Los Angeles Lakers. So, obviously, I don't think that's a true reflection of how they've been playing. I've watched every single game they played, the full game, and I think it's an injustice to say that their 0-3 start is going to be indicative for what's going to happen in the rest of the season, because all their games have been really, really close. Even though the Portland Trailblazers game and the Houston Rockets game sort of blew out towards the end, for the whole game was basically 1 to 2 point difference, and just towards the end when free throws started getting hit because of those intentional fouls and stuff like that, we sort of saw the lead balloon out a bit. But the whole Lakers situation right now is really interesting. Obviously, there's a lot of multiple storylines coming through, but I think I'll just address the most recent one, which is obviously the Los Angeles Lakers losing to the San Antonio Spurs by 1 point in overtime. And obviously, I guess the biggest thing that came from that game was LeBron James missing 2 free throws, and what a shitstorm that created on Twitter. Just absolute pandemonium across media. Everyone just started coming at LeBron, even though people forgot that LeBron hit the clutch tying 3 at the end of the fourth quarter to tie the game up. People forgot about that. Interesting, but obviously he's going to get a lot of flack because they were up by 1. He had 2 free throws at the line and basically hit 2 free throws. The worst that's going to happen is you're going to tie the game. You hit 1 free throw, you're going to force them to make a 3, and then, if they make a 3, they make a 3 or whatever. But basically, if you haven't seen it, he misses 2 free throws. He essentially misses 2 free throws. Rims at both of them, which is like, geez, this is the basketball gods just trying to toy with LeBron right now. But he rims at both free throws, and the Spurs call a timeout. They run a pretty nice play. Lonzo misreads the play a little bit, thinks the ball's going to go to LaMarcus Aldridge, but, the Aussie, how we Aussies do. We get in there, prime time, clutch time, you know what to do. But, the Aussie Patty Mills rises up for a nice mid-range jumper, shoots a game winner with 6 seconds left, and that's sort of what the story wrote. But as I sort of mentioned, there was a whole massive, I guess, you could say pandemonium or something that happened on Twitter with just all these Kobe stands just coming out LeBron just saying that he would never miss these 2 free throws. He would never miss these 2 free throws. Like, Kobe, this guy, Kobe would never, all Portland full of shit. Kobe Bryant was at the Lakers game until LeBron missed the clutch free throws. That is That's a good meme. Been seeing too much Kobe disrespect today not to drop this video. Jeez. Never forget Kobe hit 2 free throws with a torn Achilles. Like, it's all this shit regarding Kobe. And, if you've been a long time listener to the podcast, which I hope you are, you know that I haven't been, the highest on LeBron James. I think, in the whole LeBron James, Michael Jordan argument, it's not even an argument. It's not even a competition per se. I think Michael Jordan's the best player by far, but to, sort of disrespect what LeBron did in that game is pretty poor. Obviously, his first quarter was really, really, really bad. He had a 0-6 start with 0 points, and obviously he finished the game with a really, really red hot start. But I think there's just a lot of expectations on LeBron, and the 0-3 start, even though I don't think it's gonna be that trend for the rest of the season, I think it's telling to how the Lakers are gonna be perceived not only by their fans but by the entire league, pundits, ex-NBA players, other teams alike and stuff like that. It's just there's so much pressure on the Lakers just to perform and even make the playoffs. And in the loaded Western Conference where they basically played, if you listen to my preview, I don't think Portland's Portland's gonna make the playoffs team, but they're definitely in the playoff picture. So they versed 3 teams in the playoff picture, and they lost to all 3 of them. Whilst being close, they still lost to them. So it's like, what can we really say about that? And obviously, there's going to be some lineup issues in the team. Should Josh Hart start over KCP? Because KCP literally does nothing. I've never seen this guy gets paid $12 million to do nothing. He shoots ill-advised 3-point shots. They pass it, the outlet pass it to him with 2 seconds off the shot clock, and he just jacks it up. You're just like, what are you doing, man? He's not really that good at finishing. Defensively, he's sound, and we all know that KCP's defensively really, really good. And I don't think it's a mistake that they brought him back, necessarily, but I don't think he's that good starting. It's just he's just not performing well at all. And obviously, Josh Hart off the bench, 20 points, 10 rebounds, disgusting. So, that's just my opinion. Obviously, there's a whole controversy with the point guard position, which I guess sort of for the next couple of games it sort of figured itself out for what I'll get into more. But obviously, I think it's just God, sorry, I'm sort of losing my point. I think it's just a bit hard to judge the Lakers right now because obviously all of LeBron's teams have sort of an iffy start, but with that as well, all LeBron's teams had this big winning streak that they sort of caught, in Miami. They had 16, 17 game win streak, something like that, so all of his teams sort of have a pretty good win streak. And just in my opinion, I don't think the Lakers have the talent, nor do they have the ability to string a double-digit win streak. I think it's just impractical to think that they could just turn it on like that, and especially with a lot of these Western Conference teams that they've been facing that are just going to bring it to them every night because they're viewed as this not media darling, but just this media entity that everyone's focusing on. They want to slay Goliath. They want to be the person that defeats them and spoils the party. So, the whole, again, Lakers situation is a bit iffy, and I guess that sort of leads upon, the big elephant in the room that has not been mentioned, and that's the whole Chris Paul, Rajon Rondo fight, coupled with the Brandon Ingram coward punch, you could say, cheap shot, I don't know. It looked like Slender Man punching a gnome. It was pretty weird. The guy, it looked like Go-Go Gadget. It looked like, when he punched, it looked like his arm extended 3 billion feet. It was ridiculous. I'm like, it just didn't, it looked weird. I don't know if I'm the only one that saw that, but when he punched, I'm like, Jesus. It looked like he got a clean hit, but it's just it's like he just reeled out some extra wingspan. I'm like, this guy's got wingspan for days. So, yeah, I guess, how do you even react to that? I guess sort of we should probably break down contextually what happened. Obviously, Brandon Ingram commits a foul to James Harden, who's trying to drive into the lane. They call a foul on the floor, so it's not an and one, even though he does convert the bucket post foul. And then Brandon Ingram was pretty pissed. I don't know why. And it's just weird. I don't know why. Like, why is Brandon Ingram being a goon? I know you got the tattoo, son. You got the little box sprays, but why my man's gooning out here? Why you gooning? Why are you gooning Brandon Ingram? You gotta calm down a bit. But obviously Brandon Ingram's gooning a bit. He shoves James Harden in the back. James Harden flails like a fish, like Magikarp on Pokemon. He just flails like an idiot. And then basically the ref tees Brandon Ingram up. He turns around. And on initial thought that, especially on the broadcast as well, they thought that he was approaching James Harden. But when you actually look at the video, my man's just staring down the referee, which, that's just definitely something you can't do. And I'm surprised he didn't get ejected at that point anyway. But stares him down. Lance Stevenson breaks up. Lonzo comes in, helps, break it up a bit as well. And then out of nowhere, Rondo and CP3 get into this mad altercation. Punches are flying between the two, and then obviously, as I mentioned, Go-Go Gadget comes in, reels out that extra wingspan, and throws in a cheap shot on Chris Paul. And how did this all happen? Supposedly, Rajon Rondo spit on CP3, and I'm a big Rondo fan. Rondo's been my favorite player ever since the early days of the Celtics, when he wasn't even that big. I liked him at Kentucky. I was like an 8-year-old watching ESPN, and I'm like, man, this guy from Kentucky, I like him. I like this guy. And this is the guy from Australia. Just look at this 6-foot guy getting alley-oops at Kentucky. I'm like, you know what? I like this guy. But so yeah, as I was mentioning, I was sort of on Rondo's side. I was like, you know what? It's all good. Rondo, he gets a bit trippy. Chris Paul's known to get a bit trippy. Ask his Clippers teammates, or actually, I don't really ask the Houston Rockets. So I'll let that sit for how it's gonna sit. But the videos showed Rondo. I guess he was spitting. It wasn't like anything noticeable. It wasn't like a, you know what I mean? It was just like a, I think, which nevertheless, getting spit on it's probably the most disrespectful thing you could ever do to a person. That's like, I'd rather get punched in the face, because at least you're gonna be a man about it. I'd rather get kicked in the stomach. I'd rather get beat up by all your mates. In a 1v5 match. I don't care. But spitting in someone's face, is ultimate disrespect. And anyone ever, male, female, boy, girl, whatever, getting spit in the face is the most disrespectful thing you could do. So obviously the way Chris Paul retaliated was one of someone that thought he got spit on, and I guess from the video that it's been circling around, it seems that he did get spit on. But obviously gets spit on, and then he sort of eye gouges Rondo, I guess. He points his finger, and it's like he starts pointing at his cheekbone, and then he purposely just pushes it right into his eye, which that's a no-go either. There's a reason why in MMA it's illegal to, eye gouge and stuff like that. We see a lot, when John Jones is fighting, he accidentally pokes a player, and they had to take a 5-minute timeout, because it's that bad. You really damage the retina, and you can damage the vision for a while, if not permanently. So, Chris Paul did is probably not the right thing to do, but obviously, on reflection of him getting spit on, how else are you gonna react? So, the whole melee starts, and as I mentioned, Brandon Ingram gets thrown in there. Overall, pretty good fight. I liked it. There was actually some connections. Rondo connected, Chris Paul connected. Obviously, my man Wingspan connected pretty good as well. So pretty good connections. It was like as good as the Conor McGregor Khabib brawl. It was as good. Maybe not better, but it was as good. One, because they're not fighters either. You did not expect it. It was the two smallest guys on the court, and much like the Conor McGregor Khabib fight, there was a guy that just came in and just threw a wild punch as well. So it was pretty good. And I think just upon that as well, reflection, I think it was funny because how the UFC, obviously, I'm sort of, gassing people up here. Obviously, the UFC situation, the UFC brawl was completely out of hand and way over the top, but the way the NBA reacted with their suspensions and sort of how the UFC reacted or their initial reaction, it's sort of, obviously contextually it's different, their circumstances lie differently, but it sort of showed that fighting in respect doesn't really matter on the sporting field. Obviously, I guess maybe when you have sort of natural born killers and MMA fighters, you could propose different questions. But, I think how the NBA reacted, a lot of people was like, oh, 10 game, 15 game, 20 game suspension. I'm like, yo, dude, they just threw like 1 to 2 punches. It didn't score anything. It didn't score anything on the field, on the court. It's not going to reflect anything badly to our youngsters. It's just what it is. It's just what it is. When the competitive fire, overrides any logical thought. That's sort of what's going to happen. So, obviously, Chris Paul got a two game suspension, which I guess sort of deserved. Rondo with a 3 game suspension. I guess if you're gonna actually definitively say that he spat in Chris Paul's face, I guess he deserves the extra game suspension. And Chris Paul Brandon Ingram starting the whole initial situation. If he didn't push James Harden, none of this would have happened. And then on top of that, throwing a coward punch. I think he was actually lucky to get 4 games. I think he should have got a bit more. Maybe I would have said like 6 or 7. So I think they were a bit liberal with Brandon Ingram. But the man's a youngster, man's a goon. Man's got 2 full sleeve tattoos when he was like 17, which I don't understand how you can even do that. But that's a question that would always be asked for another day. I guess trying to move on from the Lakers, pretty hard on the Lakers. But I think it's because they're such an overpowering team, and I think you just had to notice them. And I guess one of the people that's been slated to go to the Lakers in the free agency is Kawhi Leonard, and that sort of moves on to Toronto Raptors, the best team in the East, a 4-0 start, and not only a 4-0 start, but they've beaten some decent teams. They beat, I guess the most notable team they beat was the Boston Celtics quite handedly, and Kawhi Leonard has been playing fantastic. He's been playing fantastic. And if there was any questions about if he could reach that MVP level of game that he had prior to his whole situation at the San Antonio Spurs last year, that's definitely been proven because he's been absolutely fantastic. Defensively, super sound. Offensively, 3-point, just everything about him is like, this is what we expect from Kawhi. He's playing absolutely fantastic. It's just great to see because obviously his whole reputation has sort of been marred by that, I guess situation, because I was trying to find a better word. Situation, when you're trying to think of a better word and you're like going to do your mental, God, I don't want to, thesaurus. I got a list, so it's a bit thesaurus. When you're going through your mental catalog of words and you're just trying to find words, it's like situation. It's the only one I could figure out, but obviously, yeah, the whole situation with the San Antonio Spurs sort of marred his reputation, but at Toronto, it looks like the man's a winner. The man's a bona fide winner. He's a bona fide player, bona fide superstar, and, I think he's definitely going to be in the contention for MVP, especially if Toronto keeps obviously they'll keep at the pace because they're eventually going to fucking lose a game or whatever, but if they stay within the top 2, as I think it looks like they're going to be, which I'll be honest, I definitely didn't select them to be a top 4 team. I thought they were going to be maybe 5. I had sort of, Boston, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Indiana sort of more in that race or more in that picture. But, excuse me. Obviously, I think, that's probably a mistake on my part. Toronto definitely should have been noted as a top 4 team. But, Toronto, if they are within sort of the upper echelon of the Eastern Conference, definitely expect Kawhi to be really, really high up there for MVP considerations. And if he gets the MVP and they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and let's say, even if they lose in the Eastern Conference Finals, I find it really hard to see that Kawhi's going to leave. And I think we've all sort of expected that, potentially Kawhi will leave, and he's probably going to leave to Los Angeles, Lakers, Clippers, whatever, one of the two. But it just feels weird if he has his outbreak performance, MVP candidate, that he leaves with Toronto, Like, I understood with Paul George that, the team didn't do well. He personally didn't do well as a player. I get, even though he made the All-Star game, I think overall, I think he wanted to play a bit better. And I think with LeBron going, look, the whole situation surrounding Paul George going to the Lakers is completely different with Kawhi. And if Kawhi leaves, it's just sort of, I wouldn't say, it sort of puts a sour taste in my mouth, I guess. And I know we sort of got to accept that he might leave and he probably will leave, but in my opinion, don't leave. Don't leave, Kawhi. Please don't leave. Because please don't go. If I wake up tomorrow. God, that was weird. I guess moving to another undefeated team in the West, and a team that is doing business. And when I mean business, I mean beating the Golden State type of business. And that's the Denver Nuggets, man. The Denver Nuggets, I think it might be my new favorite team now. The Denver Nuggets just I don't know, it's not even hard to put into words. It's like, what is this team? This team's just a solid team. It's just a solid team, and I think it's safe to say Nikola Jokic, superstar. Superstar level. And I don't want to sound like I'm just chucking the notion of superstar around, but my man is a bona fide superstar. When you're putting up numbers that only Wilt Chamberlain has ever put up, you're a superstar. When you have a 30-point triple-double and you don't miss a field goal, you're a superstar. When you're a center and you're dropping 3 bombs like it's nothing, you're a superstar. When you're center and you're gonna potentially average nearly 10 assists a game for a season, you're a superstar. When you look like you haven't worked out in the offseason, when you look like you have no muscle structure to you at all, when you look like you have 40% body fat maybe on you, that's a bit dog. Maybe 25%. No, that's 20% body fat on you, 25% body fat on you for being a professional athlete in the NBA where it's all conditioning, really, and you still dominate. You're a superstar. So shout out to Nikola Jokic, man, the Joker. 100% has to be an all-star. Bar anything happening from this point on, but you know, just the Denver Nuggets are solid. They're solid, and I think I sort of said they were going to be smoky. I knew they were going to make the playoffs, but I didn't know they were going to be this much of a smoke. I didn't realize they're going to do what they're doing right now. It's ridiculous. Obviously, they're not going to keep the pace again like Toronto Raptors. They will eventually lose, but I think top 4 aspirations are really on the table for them. It is really on the table for the Denver Nuggets. You know, Gary Harris, solid. Jamal Murray, solid. Hernan Gomez with the game-winning block, solid. Paul Millsap, solid. You know, this obviously Will Barton's injured, but you know, just a lot of solid pieces, and coupled with that, with an actual bona fide superstar who is not only a superstar but a point of difference superstar, which I might add. That's what I like about this team. They're a point of difference team. They don't play like other teams. You know, they don't have, you know, they're not like the Golden State Warriors where they just have so many multiple ball handlers on the court where it's just like, you know, and they can just shoot threes at any time, you know. It's just like, it's just, jeez, Marco Fultz starting the game 4 or 5. Jeez, he's dripping wet. But, you know, back to my point, you know, the Denver Nuggets are just a team that they just fundamentally play basketball. They just fundamentally play basketball, and it's just like, it's just, I don't even know. It's just, it's hard to explain their game, you know. Obviously, you could probably go to, like, Basketball Breakdown or, you know, these other people on YouTube or Twitter or whatever that break down basketball games. But just from a pure observation, it's just like, this team slaps. This team slaps. So, shout out to the Denver Nuggets, man. You're doing things out there. You're doing mad things, eh? Another team that's undefeated, obviously they've only played 2 games, is the New Orleans Pelicans. If you're Australian, you probably say New Orleans, which I used to do. Apparently it's New Orleans. Apologies if I've ever said New Orleans in the past podcast. But obviously New Orleans Pelicans looking very, very sharp. Obviously they slapped the Houston Rockets at home. At their home in the first game of the season. Anthony Davis putting up numbers. Nikola Mirotic, my man's averaging 30 points. Is this again Mirotic MVP? Is this Mirotic MVP? If anyone's listened to one of the first early episodes of 23 Shots to JD, me and David said Mirotic MVP when he was putting up nasty numbers for the Chicago Bulls. So is this Mirotic MVP part 2? Is this a real thing? Do we just need to scrap Anthony? You know, Anthony Davis, please sit to the side. I know you're averaging like, what would you be averaging? Like, I don't know, like nearly 30 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists or something, couple blocks, couple steals. Just sit aside, man. Go to the side because my man Nikola Mirotic is dropping threes like it's nothing. He's scoring ridiculously. My man Nikola Mirotic, he's a don. He's an absolute don. So shout out to Nikola Mirotic. I have you in my heart as an MVP candidate. So, we'll see how it is. We'll see how it goes. But obviously, I think the New Orleans Pelicans, I think with a renewed sense of optimism, especially with sort of their playoff success. I think obviously they have some new additions, which I'll sort of get to further. But obviously, their core group of players, Drew Holiday, Etwan Moore, Anthony Davis, as I mentioned, Nikola Mirotic. I think that renewed sense of belief in themselves, knowing that they can compete on the biggest stage, it's sort of translated to the start of the season. And it's just good to see that the New Orleans Pelicans, who sort of been marred with a bunch of injuries and just bad situations in the past, is actually having some type of success, and hopefully that can sort of prolong in the future. And as I mentioned, it's coupled with some of their new signings, most notably Julius Randle, who I dubbed the 6th man of the year. You could just pat me. Anyone here? Obviously, I'm just talking about myself. Anyone here want to pat me on the back? Pat me on the back because I did choose Julius Randle 6th man. I did choose him as 6th man of the year. And my man's dropping 20 and 10 on the regular from the bench. Of course. But shout out to Julius Randle, man. I think he's sort of showing that maybe the Lakers made a bit of mistake of letting him go, even though he was sort of undersized for the center position. His bull-like mentality and just his hustle is ridiculous, and I think that's something that definitely the Lakers are missing on the team. And maybe Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka right now are sort of regretting not picking up Julius Randle again, which I sort of would be as well. Unlucky Lakers, but also another person I should mention, Elfrid Payton in his first game got a triple-double. A quick 1-2 triple-dubs. And it's good to see Elfrid Payton bounce back again. At Orlando, he sort of bounced around. Not bounced around. That's not the word. He was playing here and there. They wanted him to be the future point guard, but I think there was just too much pressure on him. He's sort of just more versatile. He's like Rondo. He will average minimal assists, but he's a really good rebounding point guard, and he just knows where to put his passes correctly. So, it's just great to see Elfrid Payton sort of bounce back, especially when the Phoenix Suns don't really have a point guard either, and they had him on the team, and maybe he could have done something for them. But that's sort of what it is sometimes. What else was something big to note? Oklahoma City 0-3. Again, I think that's excusable because Russell Westbrook did miss the first 2 games. They should have been the Sacramento Kings, honestly, because Paul George played really well and Russell Westbrook played really well, and it's the Kings. Anyone should be beating the Kings. So, I guess that's pretty disappointing on that behalf. Cleveland 0-3. Who would expect that? Everyone, of course. One thing, I thought Colin Sexton would be getting more minutes. Why is he playing on the bench? Shouldn't he be getting more minutes? Just a young bull. Let the young bull ride, Come on, Cleveland. Let the young bull ride. Another team, Chicago 0-3. Unexpected, I think. I thought they were going to be a bit higher. Obviously, they're missing Lauri Markkanen at the moment with an injury. But one person I want to shout out, and I think in the preview, in the 30 and 10 preview, I definitely noted him when I broke down the Chicago Bulls because I thought he was going to be a great player, and that is Zach LaVine, the second person in franchise history besides Michael Jordan to open the season with 3 straight 30-point games. The man's deadly from 3. This guy's deadly. It's really good to watch him play because he elevates really well. Obviously, we know he's athletically gifted. He elevates really well on his 3-point shots, drives through the lane relentlessly, can shoot free throws, and again, obviously looking good post ACL injury. Minnesota Timberwolves, you mad? Maybe you may be a bit mad because you could definitely probably use some of his production and youth as well. But just sort of wanted to put that out there for Zach LaVine. Doing really well. It's good to see. I guess a disappointing start for the Boston Celtics. Obviously, they lost to Orlando and they've lost to Toronto. What can you sort of really say about that? Toronto, I sort of expected that they were going to lose. Not lose, but it'll definitely be competitive, and it sort of showed that, there's definitely room for the Celtics to go as a team, and obviously they're implementing 2 star players, obviously Kyrie and Gordon Hayward back into the regular rotation. Sort of just want to put a quick note of Gordon Hayward. It's just great to see him actually playing, and he's playing effectively as well. It's not like he's just sort of put out to play there just to, maybe up his trade value or whatever. It looks like he's generally getting some great game time. He's enjoying the game again. So, a great story on how to overcome the odds and sort of always, sort of pursue your dreams and stuff like that. So just shout out to Gordon Hayward, sort of being an inspiration to a lot of people that sort of, maybe were down and that, maybe had a catastrophic event happen in their life, and, grind back to the position that you are now is just sort of great to see. But yeah, sort of Boston, disappointing start. Like I said, Toronto, I guess, at least it was competitive. But then losing to Orlando, you lose to Orlando, you let Jonathan Isaac put double-double on you. Jonathan Isaac, double-double. Vucevic destroys your Horford. Vucevic. Evan Fournier, what are you doing, Celtics? You're meant to be the number 1 team in the East, and you're losing to people like Evan Fournier? Jonathan Isaac? Come on, the Celtics. Step up your game, please. Just please step up your game. Obviously, it's still early days in the season, so, who knows? Boston might just go on a 10-game winning streak and be number 1 in the East, and they just, sort of shot me up like that. But I think what I was sort of alluding to at the start is sort of a lot of things that are emerging trend-wise are sort of apparent with what's happening in a lot of these teams. I mentioned Denver looks legit. New Orleans looks legit. Golden State look okay. Klay Thompson looking iffy, I'll say. Klay Thompson looking really iffy, but he'll definitely hit form. Portland, San Antonio, I want to mention. Obviously, I sort of alluded to them before mentioning about the Lakers loss, but San Antonio playing really well. DeMar DeRozan playing excellent. If there was any questions of how he was going to integrate into the Greg Popovich system, all of that sort of already been shattered by Game 3. The man is underrated passing, right? He got 32 and 14 against the Lakers. That's some big boy numbers there by DeMar DeRozan, who's not really noted as a he's sort of one of the better assist guys at the shooting guard position, but that's not what he's noted for. Like, no one looks at me like, you know what, DeMar DeRozan, assist guy. And just good to see that he sort of playing well in a new system, and it would sort of suck that if Kawhi Leonard was playing well and he was sucked, and it's like, jeez, unlucky San Antonio Spurs. And it's sort of one of those weird situations as well, when it's like both teams benefited from the trade. That's a rare thing that ever happened, that both teams really benefit from the trade, but I guess that sort of materialized in this situation. Obviously, LaMarcus Aldridge playing really, really well against the Lakers. Rudy Gay playing really well on top of that. So San Antonio Spurs, even though there was questions if they're going to make the playoffs or not, I think their games and their play so far has sort of put out there that they're definitely a team to not watch out for, but they're gonna be in the playoff picture, and I feel like they're gonna make the playoffs. So that's just sort of San Antonio Spurs. Another trend that we see in Houston Rockets looking a bit worse, and I think that's coupled with sort of the losses in Trevor Ariza, and I guess maybe not Ryan Anderson too much, but I think definitely Trevor Ariza. Whilst I raved about James Ennis in the breakdown, obviously guy from the NBL worked his way up into the NBA. I look at him as a guy that really put the Australian Basketball League on the map. So shout out to James Ennis and stuff like that. But it just doesn't look like he can really fill the void that a one Trevor Ariza filled. I don't think he's good enough to be what Trevor Ariza was. PJ Tucker is still okay, I guess. But I think, the Houston Rockets look a bit iffy. Just a bit iffy. If I'm going to be honest, they look a bit iffy. Obviously getting slapped by the New Orleans Pelicans. Obviously they beat the Lakers and, they lost their last game as well. So it's just interesting start. I still think they're going to make the playoffs, but again, some trends just emerging that sort of reflect what's sort of happening within the the league and stuff. An interesting team that's up there already is the Dallas Mavericks, who I said will definitely be a smoky for the playoff picture, and that's sort of built all upon Luka Doncic. And I think there was a lot of questions on how they were going to play Luka Doncic. Was he going to be the focal point of the offense? Was he going to be the assist guy? How is it going to work? And I sort of realized that Luka Doncic is everything. He's really everything. I've never seen a rookie be put on so much pressure to perform as the lead guy. Like, it's ridiculous how much this guy does. Last game he got 19 points. The game before he averaged 26 points. His first game was a bit meh, but obviously that's sort of your first game is a bit hard to reflect. But Luka Doncic looking amazing, and I think definitely front runner for the for the Rookie of the Year if Dallas keeps their winning ways. Obviously Phoenix under DeAndre Ayton, he's been putting up some monster numbers as well. But I think definitely with the Rookie of the Year voting is sort of moving towards more of a reflection of how you impact the team overall in regards to sort of wins and all that stuff. So that's why I think sort of Luka Doncic's going to be more in the picture. But he's looking really, really good. He's had some nasty plays. The guy loves a step back three. Like, I remember watching it was like the Lakers game, Lakers versus Houston actually, and you hear Luke Walton and he kept going, don't do step back threes, that's a low percentage shot. Don't do step back threes, that's a low percentage shot. It's ironic though because LeBron James loves a step back three, Lonzo loves a step back three, so it's a bit ironic. It's a bit weird there, but I was just sort of mentioning that because people say it's a low percentage shot, but it seems like that's Luka Doncic's go-to move and seems to be working effectively for him. So good on with Luka Doncic. Hope he keeps playing well. It's a bit weird to end it that way, but it sort of happened like that. Another rookie that should be noted is Trae Young. Obviously, he put out that monster stat of 35 points and 11 assists, which is the first time. Not the first. It's like the third time a rookie has ever done that. Ever, I think. I'm not entirely sure, but obviously he did that. I think LeBron James did that as well, and I can't remember the other one. Apologies for that. But Trae Young looking as you expect at Atlanta. He's probably going to average some pretty. I wouldn't be surprised if he averages 20 points and like 6 or 7 assists, which is obviously an amazing season for anyone. But obviously he can do whatever he wants in Atlanta, and it's probably not going to be reflective in the wins or anything like that. So empty stats potentially, but obviously you're going to put up great stats. So just shout out to Trae Young, and it's just good to see that Trae Young and Luka Doncic are playing well because obviously the storylines are going to be forever aligned because of the trade that traded at the draft. So so far so good. Looking for those two teams. Any other teams that should be noted? Kemba Walker, nasty. If we ever forgot about Kemba Walker being one of the top point guards in the league, don't forget. Put some respect on his name because that man's nasty. A quick 40. Even though they lost to Milwaukee, he put a quick 40. A quick 40. As I say, a quick 40. Batum playing decent. Good to see Malik Monk actually get some minutes. If you haven't listened to the podcast with me and Craig from Razzle.com from the 30 and 10 series, we both sort of like Malik Monk, and it's just good that he's actually getting minutes because last year, I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if there was sort of confrontations with him and Steve Clifford or something like that. I don't know. Was it Steve Clifford? Who was the coach? No, it's not Steve Clifford. It's the other guy. I don't know what his name is. But, good to see Malik Monk playing well. Very positive. I guess sort of following how they lost to the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis is he's playing nasty. If you want to talk about something playing nasty, playing disgusting, playing dirty, my man putting up numbers for days. A quick 30 points on you for fun. A quick 10 rebounds for fun. A quick 6, 7, 8 assists for fun. Giannis, settle down, bro. We know that you're trying to fight for the MVP. Settle down. Settle down, alright? Settle down. But, jeez, Giannis is playing away. Like, Giannis is just unstoppable. Again, another guy that's just got wingspan for days. Go gadget arms. Like, if you thought Brandon Ingram's punch looked like he was reeling out some extra bone structure in his arm, just imagine Giannis throwing a punch. Imagine him throwing a punch at you. The sheer force he would get in his hips, and how that would travel through his shoulder into his arms, into that fist, into your fucking mouth. Giannis is an animal, and he would be that in the fighting ring as well. Which I've always wondered. Because obviously that's probably like one of the biggest conversations. Because I guess you could say NBA has some of the best athletes, just I guess physically wise. You know, height, weight, muscularity and stuff like that as well. So it's like I've always imagined like what happens if you chuck like a Giannis into an MMA ring, or you chuck a Joel Embiid into a box. Like I've always wondered about that. But maybe sort of there's a diminishing returns where maybe you're too tall, or you're too long or something like that. But I don't know. Tyson Fury seems to be doing well at 6'9", so it sort of works out for him. But jeez, what else should I sort of mention? Again, it's sort of early in the season, so it's really hard to sort of take not a stance, but just sort of discuss overall what's happening. I guess Memphis, Jaren Jackson looking good. He would definitely be in the Rookie of the Year conversation. Portland, I don't know what to say about them. They are what they are. Utah disappointing. Obviously, they have a 1-2 start. Obviously, that could have been different. If they beat the Golden State Warriors, they could be. Think about it, if they beat the Golden State Warriors, they would be at a 2-1 start, and then the Golden State Warriors would be at 3-2. So that's how much early it is in the season to really judge anything. But the Utah Jazz losing 2 games, probably not a problem, I guess. But geez, that game was so ridiculous when they played the Golden State Warriors. I watched that game live. I've been watching a lot of NBA games live recently because, one, I'm just chilling. I don't really have much to do besides some uni assignments and stuff like that. So I've just been chilling like a villain. But excuse me. Yeah, so I've just been chilling. Been able to watch a lot of NBA games, and yeah, that Golden State game, Utah game was ridiculous. Like Utah putting up 81 points in the first half. Jingles, I told you, Joe Ingles, my boy, the Aussie, the guy that looks like he's 40 but he's 31. The guy that has no athletic ability but can still drive into the lane. The guy that has the ugliest jump shot I've ever seen, but is filthy from the 3-point line. This guy put numbers on the Golden State Warriors. Ricky Rubio played really well. Dante Exum, another Aussie, defensively played well. I like Dante. He played well. Rudy Gobert played well. Donovan Mitchell played well. A lot of people played well. And that just sort of proves how fucking insane the Golden State Warriors are. That they could just be down by I think it was 17, 18 points, reel it back in, and win the game. They're just super slow everywhere. And obviously, there's been reports that DeMarcus Cousins might be close to returning to 5-5, or maybe not 5-5. I don't think. I think it was more scrimmage, which I don't know how they define scrimmage. I think that's 5-5. It could be 2-2, 3v3. Who knows what's going to happen? But he's definitely returning to some actual proper on-court play. So see what happens when they bring back DeMarcus Cousins. I swear every commentator mentions DeMarcus Cousins whilst he's not playing, which is probably going to be a given because he is a massive storyline for the Golden State Warriors. But it's just insane that they could potentially have 5 All-Stars on the court. It would be insane. But one more team I want to mention is the Philadelphia 76ers, who I'm actually sort of watching live. That's why I've sort of been a bit... If you mentioned that I've taken breaks or been a bit stagnant, it's because I'm actually watching the Philadelphia-Detroit Pistons game live. Detroit Pistons playing well. Blake Griffin playing excellent. He's been averaging close to 30 points a game, I think, if not more. In this game, he's doing nothing less. He's averaging 17 points basically at halftime. So he's not averaging. He's got 17 points at halftime. So he's playing well. But I guess I just want to mention the Philadelphia 76ers as well.
weird that they've been playing. Like I think Landry Shaman started this game as well. It's weird that they're playing Landry Shaman ahead of Marco Fultz. And as I mentioned, obviously you might have heard me say Marco Fultz dripping in that sauce because he's 4 and 5 from the field. But it's just weird that they're sort of starting him ahead of Fultz. You know, Landry Shaman, a late first round pick, obviously an excellent player from Wichita State, but when you draft your number 1 pick in Marco Fultz, he's healthy, he's ready. There's nothing bad about him except for not just being that good. And you pick Landry Shaman over him? I just don't understand. I really just truly don't understand. Also, Ben Simmons, I know you're doing all those videos in the offseason, Instagram and stuff like that, showing that you have a shot on you. You can shoot from the perimeter. Why can't you do that now? Why can't you shoot from the perimeter? I just don't understand what you've been doing the whole offseason. I know you've been traveling around the world, doing your whole Nike thing, your whole Beats thing. You're here in Australia. You swerved a couple of my mates when you were in Australia. So that's why maybe I'm a bit salty about that. You swerved a couple of my mates in Australia. You swerved them. I'll be honest. You swerved me in the DMs. Maybe that's why I'm angry, Ben Simmons. Maybe as a fellow Aussie, I thought you were coming on a fellow Aussie's podcast and you know try and build each other up. You know, maybe I'm a bit salty about that. But the most thing I'm salty about is that you don't have a jump shot yet. What have you been doing the whole... like, it's so evident that if you had a jump shot, Simmons, you'd be fucking impossible to guard. Like, no one could stop you at all. Yet you failed to implement... Like, you failed just to implement a jump shot. Please. Stop shooting 3. Marco Fultz, like, Lonzo Ball averages... I think he's been averaging, like, 2 air balls a game. Yet he still shoots 3, then he makes them. You know why? Because he's confident about them and he doesn't care about the result. Ben, shoot 3s, man. Please. Please. Show a little bit of point of difference in yourself. And I know you're like, oh, you know, Ben Simmons averaging like 20, 10, and 10 without shooting. He could be averaging fucking 35 and 10 and 10 if he could shoot a 3-point shot. Think about that. Think about that. And not only that, it opens the post up more for Joel Embiid so that he could be more of a fucking beast. It's just frustrating, man. It's just I don't know why I ranted about the Philadelphia 76ers. I apologize if I got a bit too heated there. I really don't know why. But it's sort of frustrating me because I feel like they should be just unstoppable if Ben Simmons could shoot a jump shot. Jeez. That's an interesting way to end the podcast. But yeah, I'll sort of leave it there. Obviously, early days in the NBA season. Obviously, when next week when I get back on the podcast again, it might be a completely different story. Who knows? Toronto could have lost every single game. The Pelicans could have lost every single game. Lakers could be on a massive winning streak. LeBron James could be averaging 50 points a game. You know, who knows what could happen? But I sort of leave it at there. Obviously, not obviously. Actually, I should say I don't usually watch a lot of regular season games in entirety, but it's actually been really, really entertaining watching these games. Very competitive, not a lot of blowouts. So it's just good to see, regular season basketball is good. If everyone's waiting for the playoffs, go watch regular season basketball. It's looking good. But I'll leave it there. Probably next week, on the next edition where I sort of, talk about NBA, maybe some other sports stuff as well. I'll sort of talk about sort of some things that's going to be happening to me in the future, that will affect the podcast. Maybe negatively, maybe positively, who knows. There will definitely be some new stuff coming along in regards to that as well. So I have some more announcements and stuff like that. But definitely be excited because I'm excited for what's going to be happening to me in the next couple of weeks and stuff like that. So, again, thanks everyone for your continual support. If you want to interact with me further, you can find me on Twitter at 26shotsofjd. Or if you don't use Twitter, you don't like Twitter, don't have Twitter, you can email me at 26shotsofjd@gmail.com. Any questions, queries, anything like that you really want to ask me about. If you're a Kobe fan, Kobe stan, and you want to email saying how great Kobe is, you can do that. Don't email me your uni assignments like you usually do because I actually got to finish my ones, but that's what it is. But yeah, anything else that you want me to talk about or anything you want me to address, definitely you can contact me in any of those 2 fronts. Besides that, I'll sort of leave it there.